Good morning and welcome to Tao of the Day. This is where we talk Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text, 81 verses or 81 chapters or 81 selections of great writing. Tao Te Ching translates, a lot of times people relate to the Tao Te Ching as the way. I translate it as the canon of reason. So this is a book of 81 chapters or verses that express how to live a reasonable life. If you're interested in sharing with me, come on up and we can. Excuse me, I just finished my morning kombucha, which is also why I'm a little chilled. But if you have a number between 1 and 81, I would love to share the Tao with you. Every day I come on at some point in the morning Central Time and share the Tao. I love people coming up and give me a number between 1 and 81, and we can just chat a little bit about what your Tao of the day is. So if you're interested, please just come on up. I'm going to go ahead and pick a number. 12. We're going to pick 12 today. 12, oh, this is a very beautiful one. Colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desires wither the heart. The master observes the world but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is as open as the sky. So this is a beautiful chapter for me because as some of you may know, I'm going to be going on a dark retreat at the end of March. So at the end of March, I'm going to go spend 5 days and 6 nights in utter darkness. And the reason for that is I'm an artist, so I'm visually organized, and I associate with things visually at times, and I have utilized my eyes my whole life. And I mean, I wear glasses and stuff, but so much information comes in through my sense of sight, and I am informed very often by my sense of sight. So this first line of um, this number 12 verse of the Tao, colors blind the eye. That's true. Like the more beautiful things we see, every time we see and associate something as beautiful, we immediately create a space in our life for something to be ugly, right? So beauty and ugly, they follow each other. They create each other. The moment we see something as beautiful, we create something as ugly. And this is how I understand this first line, colors blind the eye. Once we see color, right? Like even in my phone, I turn my phone on my phone at 5:30 in the evening, my phone goes to black and white. So if I want to see color, I have to switch it. I have to do something. I have to act so that I can see color. And the dark retreat that I'll be going on at the end of March is all about existing without sight for a stretch of time. So for a week, thereabouts, 5 days, 6 nights. And that is such a um it's going to be a challenge, of course, but it's going to allow me not to see color for a while. So hopefully, the concept being when I get out, I will be able to see clearer. I'm going to be able to see myself clearer because in the darkness I will see who I am. I will be with only myself without having to see myself in relation to things, right? Every time we wake up and look around, we see ourselves in relation to the walls, in relation to others, in relation to the sky, in relation to all of these things. But being in the dark for this stretch of time while I'm in the dark retreat is going to help me not see myself in relation to so many things. I'm just going to be able to be in the dark. And so this line, colors blind the eye, definitely resonates for me at this moment in my life. Then we move to sounds deafen the ear. Silence is such an important aspect of our lives, and we don't often sit in quiet. So many things in our life, even this app, is about cutting through the silence. It's about cutting through that quiet. You don't need to hear things because you're with yourself all the time. But we want to hear things so that we can, you know, put something in our brain, put something in our mind, so that we don't have to always hear ourselves. Very often we get into a place where we want to cut that silence. But here we see colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear. When you hear like really great music, like then all of a sudden you've created really bad music, right? Like it's so wonderful. Like, how many times have you guys? I mean, I've lived in the city my whole life, so jackhammers are a normal thing. Do you just allow those to exist, or do they become like just part of the background, or do they become something that you detest, or what happens when certain sounds come in? And this is where, especially when we look at sounds that we really love, we can turn ourselves away from things that sound not beautiful, that we don't want in our life. Flavors numb the taste is the next line. The next line says flavors numb the taste. And this, if you are just joining me, is the Tao of the Day. If you don't know what Tao of the Day is, the Tao of the Day is I'm a big fan of the Tao Te Ching, which translates to the Canon of Reason. It's an ancient text written by Lao Tzu in 6th century BC, and it consists of 81 chapters or verses. And I invite you to come up and pick a number, and we can read through your Tao for the day. Mine today is number 12. Starts: colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste. Flavors numbing the taste is something that I look at with fancy dining and foodies recently. So many people relate to being a foodie. Oh, I love to just like taste things and all of this. But does that does flavor then have help you make a decision of what you like and what you don't like? And does it turn things off in your life? And that's something that when I was diagnosed with MS, I had to change my diet pretty drastically. I could no longer eat bread, even though I wasn't eating a whole lot of bread up until that point. Really, I did have to shift and not eat any bread, and not eat any pasta, and not eat any kind of complex carbohydrates. And I no longer eat potato and a whole bunch of things. And so, if I were to be so dead set on having those things, those sugars in my life because of my taste, well, then I wouldn't be able to enjoy the diet that I have today, which is high in fat and, very low in carbs. And it's a very different flavor profile than I used to eat. And so flavors numbing the taste is very common when we have a flavor that we like. We want to have this flavor in our diet. We want to have sweet in our diet. We want to have those sorts of carbs in our diet. And those flavors, because we have those flavors in our periphery, and because we're looking for those, and because they are preferences, we immediately make it say, oh, it's difficult. The diet that you have must be difficult. People tell me the diet I have must be difficult all the time. And I'm like, well, no, it's not. It would be, had I had these preferences in my life for breads and carbs and all of these things. But really, it wasn't something that, like, I didn't define myself as a foodie. I never defined myself as someone who, really loved pasta or really loved bread or anything like that. So I was able to step away from that. Now, of course, sugar is still something that calls to me on the odd occasion, like, every always. But it was it's an easier choice for me to make, to not fall for the call of sugar when my walking is the thing that's at risk, right? If you're going to take my walking from me, I don't care how sweet your sugar is. I'm not necessarily going to go for it because I'd rather walk than enjoy a little sugar right now. Thoughts weaken the mind. This is an interesting one. And I don't always know how to translate this because thoughts, these are thoughts. Like I'm having thoughts right now. Do they weaken the mind? Mm. Maybe because once I have a thought, like I hone in on something, and honing in on something is a way for me to close myself off to other things. So, thoughts weakening the mind, and I think that my ability to not have thoughts is pretty strong as well. So, in meditation and what have you, I think that's interesting. Like recently, I have been challenged within my meditation and within my meditation practice, just for roving thoughts. Right, my thoughts will come in and they'll not want to let go, and that's something that maybe I can consider as a weakening of the mind, right? Like it's not my mind isn't as strong when it has thoughts, and so calming it down and getting practice at being quiet, like that's something that I think I can work on these days, and maybe why it's so beautiful for me to have this Tao for me today. Once again, if you're just joining me, this is the Tao of the day. I invite you to come up and pick a number between 1 and 81, and we'll read through your Tao for the day. Mine reads: color blinds the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind. I'm now reading the line: desires wither the heart. We all love desire here in the three-dimensional time space experience, right? We all have desires. We all have desires for things. We have desires for connection. We have desires for all sorts of stuff. What does that mean that it weakens or withers the heart? And it withers things that wither away, like it kind of for me they kind of dry up, like to allow us to be present in the moment, here now, whatever this moment happens to bring, is is a way to keep our heart full. That's kind of what I see here, like desires, like. And when I look at desires, I always look at them as like things that you don't currently have, right? So you are desirous of something because it isn't here, it isn't present in this moment. To be desirous of something makes your heart, it dries your heart out. And that's something that this is speaking of, right? Like colors blind the eye. The reason that they blind the eye is because once you fill your eyes with color, like you're not going to be able to see the black and white. You're not going to be able to see the things that are toned down, the subtlety, like really bright colors. And I don't know how many of you have like watched TV. Like I'm 46. And what that means is I've experienced television differently a lot, right? Like I was born and there was television in the house. My parents, maybe that wasn't the case. Um, and if it was the case, they were probably watching black and white television. So I look at color TV when I was a kid and then marketing to people watching TV, right? So when I was a kid, when I was really young, there was no marketing to children. And then as I got older and those restrictions were removed here in the United States by Reagan, um, we started marketing to children. And then come the 90s, and all marketing toward children was like loud, colorful stuff. Now, this blinds the eye. And so, what we need to do is make more colorful, more loud, more. And then, as the 2000s came, like I couldn't even watch advertisements for children because it was just yelling at me all the time to get like this new product or buy this thing. And the things were sugary stuff, right? So, this concept of colors blind the eye is like you can't even see. Like if we look out at the world today, how many, how many of us that are trying to, that have a message or whatnot, have to compete with bright, colorful, desirous, like things that sound beautiful and taste great, and like all of these things that are deteriorating individuals, all of these things that are breaking up, like that are helping blind the eye or deafen the ear, or numb the taste. All of these things around us are happening, and they're doing that at such a level that how much of your sight has been taken by color, how much of your sight, how much of your taste, how much of what you hear has been given up because you've seen too much color, because you've heard too much sound, because you've had too many flavors. And that's an important little aspect to think about in our lives, right? Because we're here and we're experiencing this life, and we're tending toward things that have more color, more sound, or more beautiful sound, or more amazing flavor, or more thoughtful, or more desirous, right? It's causing us to need more. This is coming out of addiction. I talk about opponent process theory. Opponent process theory is the reason that you get tolerance for something. So if as a child you were yelled at, if they yelled in all of your commercials, and if they had all of these bright colors and all of these, big splashes and big, like, you had all of this excitement, well, you get comfortable to that level of excitement, and your body responds to that, so that you need a higher level of excitement. You need a higher level of communication. People need to, advertisers learn how to give you what you want to get your attention. Right? This is why Facebook is now Meta. This is why Instagram and all of these things, like, is is constantly giving you more color, more stuff, more sound, more flavor. All of that stuff is coming in because you are sensitized, or you are desensitized to those things, and so it's not going to get you to spend money. And so as you become tolerant towards the marketing shifts to give you more, so that we keep im- increasing the amount that we market to you. We keep increasing the amount of colors that you see. We keep increasing the amount. Like, remember when they added the blue M&M? Some of you may not be that old, but they added the blue M&M, and I read this book called Mindless Eating once. Actually, I didn't read the book. It was a book that I bought for my girlfriend at the time, and she read it and kind of showed me, or spoke to me about a bunch of things that were in it. And what she said was, when you if you were to have a, like, six bowls of M&Ms, and each bowl had one color, um or if, like, this, I think this is the way the experiment went with. So they had a bowl of M&Ms that were all red M&Ms, and that was the only one that they had out. And then they had a bowl of M&Ms that had all of the colors in it. Well, the one with just the red, didn't eat as much of that than the one with all of the colors, because the one with all of the colors, there is a sense, the theory is, and in the studies they found, that when you have variety, even if the variety is just color, your body will eat more of it, and you won't be in touch with what's actually going on in terms of, like, you feeling full, or you wanting them, or anything. Like, it's like, oh, there's variety here, so I'll eat more. This is why, when getting over that idea of, like, like when we look at color, when we look at sound, when we look at flavor, these things that draw us in, what are we actually being drawn into, and are we giving up of ourselves while we're being drawn in? Is there an aspect of this thing that I'm engaging with that is getting me to give up of myself, to give up who I am? Colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste. And this is all about advertising. And as we become increasingly tolerant to advertising ploys and other things like that, like what happens? The colors get brighter, the sounds get louder, the flavors get stronger, right? Like how many different flavors of Doritos can you get today, or how many different flavors of Cheetos, or potato chips or crisps or whatever? Like there's more and more flavors, and they just numb your taste. They're nothing, and they get you excited in some deep part of your brain that, oh, this is variety, but there's no real variety there. So this is the Tao of the day. So if you're just joining me, what I do is I ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81, and we will share your Tao for the day. I am here talking to you about number 12. My Tao for the day is number 12. And what it states is: colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desires wither the heart. Now, this last part says, the master observes the world, but trusts his inner vision. See, this is where everything comes down. Remember, like, so all of these things, desires, thoughts, flavors, sounds, colors, all revolve around things that we look at today as being, I look at least as being like advertisements. Like all ads want to, catch your eye. So the more colors you have, the more colors that you're used to, the more colors I have to, the more bright colors I have to do to catch your eye at all. Sounds deaf in the ear. Like if you're used to hearing things, well, I gotta have something that's louder, or more catchy, or more inquisitive, so that I can get your ear to hear new, fresh things. I mean, I know for me, like when I hear things, I just want to turn it off very often because I just want to be in quiet. And I see how, like, it's not it's not comfortable to always be listening to stuff, and so it's good to freshen up and be in a space where I can be calm, and I don't have to be hearing things all the time. Flavors numb the taste. Since I had to change my diet, I eat pretty much the same thing all the time. There is variety in there, of course, but it is very, very similar. And I don't go out to eat anymore, and all of these things. I mean, I cook 99 point something percent of my food. So most of my food is the same, especially because my diet is so restricted that there's just nowhere to go. Like there's only so much that I can eat. So I'm grateful for that, because it really kind of allows me not to get excited. It's not that I don't get excited about food. I do, but I don't get excited to the point that I can be manipulated, or that I can be in a position where it's just like desire, right? I have desire to try something. I have desire to do something, and that's here as well. This desires wither the heart. So that's what all of this is, right? Colors, sounds, flavors, thoughts, desires. The master observes the world, but trusts his inner vision. So I trusts his inner vision. So I can observe the world. I can observe the colors. I can observe the sounds and the flavors and all of those things that exist in the world. But I can trust my inner vision. I can trust that which I know is within me. And when I do that, I get to do what I like to talk about is recover myself. After having lost, after having given up so much of who I am for the colors of the world, for the sounds in the world, for the flavors that I surround myself with, for the thoughts that have weakened my mind, and for all of the desires that I have in my heart. Well, I can, by trusting my inner vision, see who I am and recover myself from all of that loss that I have given up inadvertently, possibly, or ultimately, like, it doesn't matter whether it's inadvertent or not. I lost it, and it's mine. And I want to gain that back. And so much of what I talk about when I talk about recovery, for those of you who don't know, I got 21 years clean and sober, and a large aspect of why that is because I am able to be present with my inner vision. Right, like I'm able to move myself in a direction. Right, when I was out there in active addiction, I was looking for brighter colors. I was going to raves all the time back in the mid to late '90s, and so sounds definitely deafened my ears, and flavors of all sorts of things, right? Flavors of food and junk food and drugs and alcohols and all of those things. Like they numbed my taste, and they numbed the taste of what is now the sweetest thing I know, which is my own life, right? And so all of those things, color, sound, flavors, thoughts, desires, all revolve around things that are within us, right? This inner vision. So we can observe the world, but we need to trust our inner vision. And as we trust our inner vision, we get to we get to see colors again. We get to hear sounds again. We get to taste flavors again. And they don't have to be so outrageous. Doesn't have to be bright pink in order for us to see it, but it can be subtle and it can be muted, and we can see the beauty in that as well. He allows things to come and go. His heart is as open as the sky. That's how this chapter 12 ends. As I kind of step into this, I want to remind everybody, if you want to have a Tao for your day, join me. And I would love to share the Tao with you. Just join me and pick a number between 1 and 81, and we can have a conversation about your Tao for the day. So this ends with, he allows things to come and go. His heart is as open as the sky. You know, when when do we grasp onto things? When do we grasp on, right? Like, we look at the pandemic as we're going through it right now, and we have, leading into the pandemic, increased our tolerance to advertising. Right? We've increased our tolerance to color. We've increased our tolerance to sound. We've increased our tolerance to flavor. All of those things had been increased, right? We have a deep tolerance for these things. And when we have a deep tolerance for something, in order for it to gain our attention, it has to go up a notch. And I know this just by having a past of addiction, right? Like there is, once you build tolerance, if if you want the same results, you're going to have to increase your use. And so marketers do this as well. So marketers say, okay, look, we have pushed our clients, you guys, right? We have pushed the people that we are advertising to a point where they're not responding. We have to, in order to get them to respond, we have to get brighter, we have to get louder, we have to get in front of them more. And we're seeing this everywhere. And there was a shift recently where people stopped marketing to people and started marketing to businesses and brands. And so you can have your own personal brand. That way you can contribute to the marketing world, and you can contribute to the advertising world, and this is where so much money is being made, right? Like Facebook makes money on ads. The reason Facebook makes money on ads is because regular people are advertising themselves as personal brands and advertising their posts so they can get more people to see it. And so they're making money on ads, and you're being inundated with ads everywhere you go. Colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, and flavors numb the taste. And this is where so much of this kind of revolves. And this is another reason why I'm going into the dark retreat. Like, I'm going to be spending 5 days and 6 nights in complete darkness. And the reason that is because I do want to shut myself off to this. I want to shut myself off so that I can know who I am. And in this way, my hope is that I can get my heart to be open, and I can allow things to come and go, and allow my heart to be open as the sky, as it says here. So if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or if you have a number between 1 and 81, I would love to have you on. I would love to talk with you about your Tao for the day. I chose number 12, and I'll read that again right now, which states, colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desires wither the heart. The master observes the world but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is as open as the sky. And that's what we talked about over this. I don't know, it's been about a half hour or so that I've been talking about that little verse. If you have a number between 1 and 81, please come on and join me, and we'll talk about your Tao for the day. If not, my name is Martin John. I am the host of the Recover Yourself podcast and the owner of Recover Yourself Productions. I do Tao of the Day weekdays at some point in the morning, Monday through Friday. And when I say morning, I mean Central Time here in Chicago. And I'm definitely open to having you guys join me and pick a number. I have a workshop coming up on Tuesday entitled "Recover Yourself," and we really dive into this concept of who are we and how are we growing, how are we advancing as ourselves? Because there are so many lies and ideas that we have built our life on because we had no frame of reference when we built them. And so by being able to grow into who we are and into how we are living our lives, we're able to really recover who we are. I talk so much about like stepping into what it means to recover to beyond what it means to recover from. And each and every one of us has a path of recovering to who we are. And so I am going to sign off. Thank you all so much for joining me. I appreciate that. Today we covered number 12, and tomorrow we'll be back, and hopefully you'll have something to share. Thank you so much. Until next time, keep recovering yourself.